is going on, everybody? Ryan, and I'm back to talk about some of the stuff that's happened from the first day of free agency. It's been a huge day as far as news has gone, so I'm going to be looking at my phone a lot to kind of just be able to remember everything because so much has happened. First thing we can talk about, I'm going to go to the bottom here. Kenny Stills stays with the Dolphins, which was an interesting move because a lot of stuff went into, Kenny Stills might end up with a different team. It didn't sound like the Dolphins had much interest in bringing him back, but apparently they decided to keep him around. I wouldn't have kept him around, especially on a $32 million 4-year deal. I still can't get that picture of the Seahawks game 1 of the season, the opener game. Kenny Stills has nobody around him. He's a good 10 yards, 20 yards out, and he has a chance to get the Dolphins a walk-off touchdown, and he just dropped it. I will never get that image out of my head. That is so bad. And then after that, also the Packers signed, I believe that's Nick Perry, I believe is his first name. Yep, and they signed him to a 5-year deal. Nothing too newsworthy there. And Mike Glennon apparently Mike Glennon could be going to the Chicago Bears for around $14.5 million. That would be crazy. But Glennon, a lot of different analysts seem to think that Glennon could be a starter most places, like an average starter most places in the NFL, and it would definitely be interesting to see if he does get the Bears job. Also, some other news broke this morning. Jamal Charles and the Seahawks have mutual interest in each other. That would be interesting to see what the Seahawks can really do with him. We saw that a couple of years ago they brought in Fred Jackson and kind of used him on third down situations. He was actually pretty helpful as far as pass catching went. Also, Tony Romo. Apparently, the Cowboys are rethinking the whole cutting Tony Romo situation. Instead, they are actually thinking about trading him like I thought they should have done in the first place. Apparently, their two top places, I believe, were said to be Denver and Houston. Either way, that would be definitely most interesting. Also, Andrew Whitworth, one of the best tackles in the entire NFL, has left the Cincinnati Bengals and is moving to the Rams. The Bengals had a terrible first day. They've lost 2 of their best offensive linemen, if not their best 2 offensive linemen, Andrew Whitworth and Kevin Zeltzer, who we will get to later. But the Rams, shoring up that offensive line a little bit, that's going to be definitely helpful, especially for a young quarterback like Jared Goff to have a good tackle, and also for Todd Gurley to finally maybe perhaps get some holes as far as the run game goes. For him to finally get some open space, because he was just not getting any of it last season. Nick Fairley re-signs with the Saints. So, Cowboys never apparently planned on waiving Romo. I didn't think so. I just couldn't see them giving him up for nothing when they know they could get something out of him. And now, here we go with some of the bigger signings on the day. Also, before we get into anything else, Jay Cutler, cut by the Jets, and Kirk Cousins has demanded a trade to the GM of the Redskins. I knew that was going to happen. I've been saying that for weeks, that they were going to get kind of sick and tired of, or Cousins was going to get tired of just, they can't work out a deal with him, so they keep tagging him. After last year, I thought he would already be pretty frustrated, and then they were going to do it again this year, and it's no surprise to me that he wanted to be traded. But let's get into it. Torrey Smith has now signed with the Eagles. The Eagles have a speedy wide receiver to go out there. They put Jordan Matthews back in the slot because they have another outside receiver that we will get to in a minute, because that is the biggest news out of day one, I would say. Also, the Broncos have added ex-Cowboy guard Ronald Leary, so they're definitely trying to help out their offensive line, beef it up a little bit. The Jaguars get the biggest free agent as far as cornerbacks go. The biggest name free agent, A.J. Bouye, the former Houston Texan who balled out all season long, is joining the Jacksonville Jaguars. He will play opposite of Jalen Ramsey, and that should be a scary tandem, especially if they could pick up a safety in the draft. They could be the next Legion of Boom for all we know. After that, Kevin Zeltzer obviously jumped ship from the Cincinnati Bengals, and he has moved on to the Cleveland Browns. So, The Browns definitely have a really good offensive line now. If they could have just retained Alex Mack, then they would have Zelter, Mack, and Joe Thomas all in the same offensive line. Hopefully, I'm still really hoping that the Browns try and trade Joe Thomas. Hopefully to Seattle. Apparently dear God, the Redskins are horrible. Apparently, Ian Rappaport has reported that the Redskins have a lot of confidence in Colt McCoy. What are you doing? Just get a deal done. If you have to pay for a guy like... The Washington Redskins are probably going to be one of the most dipping teams as far as... one of the most dropped teams as far as talent goes this season, as they also lost DeSean Jackson to the Bucks. Forgot to talk about that one. DeSean Jackson to the Bucks. So now they have DeSean Jackson and Mike Evans lining up both out there. That is going to be scary for any defense. They are a new offense in the NFC as far as that kind of stuff goes. Jaguars are also expected to sign Calais Campbell. That should be a huge signing for them. Rashad Jones stays in Miami. The Vikings signed Riley Reif to add to their offensive line. They definitely could use him after Matt Khalil has left them. And apparently he's visiting with the Panthers, trying to be teamed up with his brother. Stephon Gilmore expected to sign with the New England Patriots. That could be a big steal for them. Have him play opposite Malcolm Butler, as this fucking light keeps going off. Have him play opposite of Malcolm Butler. That could be pretty dangerous for the Patriots. Let's go. Bills agree to terms with ex-Packers defensive back Micah Hyde. The Chicago Bears are expected to release quarterback Jay Cutler. The roundup. Let's talk about some of the guys who are visiting. Robert Woods is heading to the Rams. So the Rams are definitely working to improve their offense, and they really needed to. Anything else interesting I can find here? Former Chargers linebacker Manti Te'o is visiting with the Saints. Eddie Lacy is set to visit the Vikings and the Seahawks, as well as the Packers, obviously. Imagine a team like Seattle signing a big power back like Eddie Lacy. That could definitely be something to watch out for. Drake Kirkpatrick, one of the other big-name cornerbacks, does stay with Cincinnati, so they did get to keep somebody. Bills have signed 5 players, which includes, obviously, Micah Hyde, and former Seattle Seahawks kicker Stephen Hauschka, who definitely struggled as far as extra points go, and some people kind of send the blame his way for the reason the Seahawks did not get the 2nd seed and instead ended up with the 3rd seed because of that lost game to the Arizona Cardinals. Other than that, the Patriots are working on a deal to retain Daron Harmon, also working to keep around Dante Hightower, interestingly enough. Not going to have a lot of cap space left after these big signings. Also, one of my favorite signings of the day, obviously, as a Seahawks fan, is the fact that the Seattle Seahawks have signed Luke Joeckel to a 1-year deal. Hopefully he can be a starter and be a very good contributor for this offensive line. I think we found a couple guys who might be able to play. Jermaine Ifedi and Justin Britt are the 2 main ones. Hopefully we could pair up Luke Joeckel on the outside somewhere, and then we just have to work on finding another guard and another tackle. Perhaps in the draft, hopefully we can find somebody good. Also, we have the biggest news of the day. There's 2 huge news stories that broke. Alright, so first let's talk about the huge one. The biggest name free agent, obviously, has been signed. Alshon Jeffrey has signed with the Philadelphia Eagles, and congratulations, Philadelphia. You have finally paired up Carson Wentz with 3 very dangerous wide receivers. Not DeSean Jackson, not anybody I thought it might be, insanely enough. But Torrey Smith, they did talk about trade rumors were all abound for Torrey Smith to come to Philly during the regular season, right around the trade deadline, so that doesn't really shock me too much. Alshon Jeffrey, I didn't know where he was going to go. But interestingly enough, the Philadelphia Eagles only signed him to a 1-year deal. I'm not necessarily sure why they wouldn't try and lock him up for more. Maybe it's a 1-year prove-it deal, but they also are giving him $14 million. So I don't really understand why you'd lock him up for only 1 year. Torrey Smith got a 3-year deal. Don't remember for how much. And also Jordan Matthews on the inside. You can kind of see the end of Nelson Aguilar's career, basically, especially in Philly. The writing is on the wall. They have a dangerous offense now. If they can shore up that offensive line a little bit more, get a good running back, and then basically it's just all defense. Excuse me. And finally, we can now talk about the Cleveland Browns basically paying money for a second-round pick because they took Brock Osweiler's contract off the Texans' hands, but apparently they have no interest in keeping around Brock Osweiler, which is interesting because if the Browns aren't even willing to give you a chance to play quarterback for them, you know you have a problem. So Brock is probably going to end up somewhere. They said they're going to try and trade him. I don't see him getting traded anywhere, honestly. I can't think of a team desperate enough to take him for $16 million. If any team was desperate enough to take him for $16 million, it's the team he's already on, and they're not even willing to give him a try. So Osweiler, I could see him getting cut and then maybe signing with a short-term or a low-cost deal with maybe Denver. Maybe he goes back to Denver if they can't snatch up Tony Romo. He'll go back to Denver on a very, very cheap contract. I can't see him getting paid anywhere near close to $16 million again. Maybe $2-3 million at the most, if any team's even willing to risk that on him. I could see the Jets maybe giving him something as well. But that's pretty much it as far as that goes. The last thing we can look at, best free agents available with a little updated list. I'll read this off. I'm using NFL mobile app to look at all this shit. Alshon Jeffrey, okay, Jeffrey signs with the Eagles. Campbell is expected to sign with the Jaguars. Oh, Calais Campbell, is no longer expected to sign with the Jaguars. He has signed with the Jaguars. AJ Bouye also to the Jaguars. So two big name defensive free agents go to Jacksonville. Adrian Peterson, no real new news on him. Terrell Pryor has a visit scheduled with the Redskins, and they definitely need to improve the wide receivers on their team now that Deshaun Jackson has agreed to a deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tony Jefferson is heading to the Ravens, so the Cardinals are not only losing out, they're getting worse. The Cardinals have lost Calais Campbell and Tony Jefferson, so their defense is looking its weakest in years. That is not good for them. T.J. Lang is expected to visit, an old Green Bay Packers guard, by the way, is who I'm talking about. T.J. Lang expected to visit the Lions and the Seahawks. Hopefully the Seahawks can bring him in. Nick Perry re-signed with the Packers. Whitworth, obviously, we've already talked about some of these. I just want to make sure I don't miss any important ones before I end this video. Pierre Garçon to the 49ers. That's a good signing for them. Oh, I forgot Logan Ryan was leaving the Patriots. That's obviously why they brought in Stephon Gilmore. Alan Branch has re-signed with the Patriots. Micah Hyde to the Packers. Or not the Packers, the Bills, excuse me. Chris Baker also leaving the Washington Redskins, one of their leading defenders from last year. The Redskins are losing all their best talent, and the Buccaneers take Chris Baker as well. Barry Church leaves Dallas to go to Jacksonville. Anybody else? Kenny Britt joining the Browns on a 4-year, $32 million deal. Ugh. We already knew about Brandon Marshall. Jay Cutler is now free agent. Glennon on the verge of signing with the Bears. Forgot Prince Amukamara was a free agent. Jonathan Cyprien to join the Titans. Interestingly enough, Russell Okung is getting paid $53 million on a 4-year deal with $13 million guaranteed by the Chargers after his poor season last year. Interestingly enough. Any other big name free agent signings that I've missed? I don't want to miss. Chance Warmack also to the Eagles. That's a good signing for them. The Eagles having a great free agency, if they all pan out, obviously. I mean, just based off paper, they're having a great free agency. You don't want to ever say, oh yeah, this team is looking like unstoppable because of a free agency. We've already seen it in Philadelphia, especially the whole Dream Team situation. Brian Hoyer agrees to a principal deal to go to San Fran. Robert Woods goes to the Rams. We already talked about some of this. Danny Woodhead to the Baltimore Ravens. DJ Swearinger, former Cardinals safety, is also leaving them, and he's going to Washington, D.C. Anybody else? Brandon LaFell staying in Cincinnati. Sorry for the lighting again. Getting down here, Malcolm Smith. I think he joined the 49ers. Anybody else before I end off this video? No, that looks to be it. So thanks everybody so much for joining me for this little NFL free agency day one talk. Some crazy things have went down. And let me know your opinion on all the moves, the Alshon Jeffrey thing, the Browns trading money for a second-round pick, and Brock Osweiler being out of Houston. Tony Romo might be about to get traded. Kirk Cousins is about to get traded. I'm assuming I can't see him staying around if he just requested a trade. Then again, we've seen stranger things happen. The Seahawks add an offensive lineman who might be able to help out that line. Brandon Marshall, we already talked about him in the last video. And any other things, the Deshaun Jackson thing. So that is going to do it. Thanks everybody so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you absolutely wreck that like and subscribe button. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out.